this is Animat, and welcome back to the Muppet Vlog. Now this time we're looking into the 18th episode of The Muppet Show, which includes the one and only Phyllis Diller. Now, some of you might think that Phyllis Diller is actually a pretty familiar name, that somehow it rings a bell. Well, let me tell you, Phyllis Diller is actually one of, if not the funniest women that had ever lived. In fact, she is actually one of the first ever female comedians that actually became such a household name and would later on influence many more other female comedians that would come, including Joan Rivers, Roseanne Barr, and also Ellen DeGeneres. She has also appeared in many TV shows and also many different feature films, but if there is one role that you might find yourself very familiar with, she is actually the voice of the Queen in A Bug's Life, so at that point you can find yourself a bit familiar. But she did do also other familiar roles, including Peter's mom in Family Guy and also Jimmy Neutron's grandma in The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron. Now, with that said, going into the episode itself, you might expect that with someone like Phyllis Diller, it's going to be like one hell of a hilarious episode. Well, I would say kind of. Yes, it definitely has its hilarious moments, but I wouldn't say that for everything. Now, if I may start off with the Backstage story, this one I find very interesting, is that this is about Hilda, the dressing room lady, and she feels like she wants to go back feeling young again, because I guess she's having a bit of a midlife crisis, and she wants to go back, you know, to the old days where she wants to look beautiful and stuff like that, because she admires Phyllis Diller so much on how she pretty much keeps herself beautiful and makes herself very presentable to everyone. So she decided to follow on the same footsteps and find ways to make her young. Now, what I find actually very interesting is that I'm sure that not many of you know who Hilda is. And that's the thing. Hilda is only a prominent Muppet in the first season of The Muppets. Afterward, well, maybe she has probably appeared in, like in later seasons, like season 2. But I'm pretty sure she only appeared in season 1 and was never seen again. She's pretty much like George the Janitor, where this is their only season that they could shine, and that's it. They never appeared again. So it's actually quite interesting to see that they would prominently feature an episode dedicated to a character that would later on be disappeared, like Hilda. But overall, I would say that it's quite fascinating. Now, the whole thing itself, the whole spiel, like all the gags that it brings in, it's okay. It's not the best. It's not like when there's one that would feature Fozzie Bear and Kermit like doing something together. It's not that good, but it's alright for what it is. But still, as a Muppet fan, I would say that it really is interesting to find that there would be a story entirely dedicated to Hilda. So, yeah, this would be like pretty much Hilda's shining moment. But sadly, I would say it could probably be her only shining moment, other than appearing in a few other episodes, just, you know, helping out the characters out, or not helping out in some cases. As for some of the other sketches, I would say that some of them are pretty good. I would admit that the opening sketch with the Mississippi Mud is probably one of my favorite ones, with the Hillbilly Gang, right next to I'm My Own Grandpa. It actually has a pretty good beat to it. It's very fast paced, and it really does have this momentum that's really a lot of fun. So definitely Mississippi Mud is greatly an enjoyable one. But there is also another one that's pretty enjoyable as well, is the Electric Mayhem, actually doing this sweet and like simple calming music of old Lazy Bones. This is pretty much a side of the Electric Mayhem that we rarely see, considering that like they always prefer fast, like kind of a fast-paced tone, especially with Animal. Considering that like one of the previous episodes, like they did like this really quick pacing, like this quick upbeat, like full of energy version of a song called Tenderly, but this one we got this calming and simple tone where we went with Lazy Bones, and it's actually pretty relaxing, and it's just one of the ways that I really do admire the Electric Mayhem, and I would probably consider them top as one of my favorite music bands. I don't really have a lot. I'm not that much of an enthusiast on music, so that was pretty much why that I would consider the Electric Mayhem on that list. But anyways, going back into the special guests now with Phyllis Diller, I gotta say that she definitely brought in her comedy, and it definitely is glorious. The two places, or like the two sketches where she actually presented herself and she really brought her comedy, and it's just pure gold. It's in the first one where she would talk about, where she would go and discuss with Rolf how much of a loser she would be. And like, this is kind of her trademark sketch that she would do, where she would see herself as a bit of a loser and stuff like that, but it works out. This is just pure comedy gold. And also there is another one where Phyllis Diller is helping out Fozzie with some comedy tips. Now that one actually leads to some great results, and just seeing Phyllis Diller and Fozzie Bear working each other out is actually really hilarious. And like I said, it led to some really great results. So those two are actually fantastic, and they're great prominent examples of what Phyllis Diller does. But at the same time, there is one that I don't necessarily get, and that is the ending act with The Entertainer, where you got the orchestra, and then Phyllis Diller is on the side playing like a little saxophone, you know, just playing the song The Entertainer. But I don't necessarily get the joke. Like, I don't know what it is that really makes it funny, because like, we got Phyllis Diller on the side playing like an amateur on the saxophone. Is the joke really about that, you know, she's playing the saxophone and she's not all that great? Or I don't know what it is. I don't know what the whole sketch is leading up to. Like, I thought there would be like some kind of punchline to it, but I honestly don't get it. I just don't know. Like, what they could have done at the end is that they should have at least, you know, make it a bit special. They could have, you know, do something like what they did with the previous acts and just do another of Phyllis Diller's tricks, or actually give her a musical number. I know she could sing. I remember I saw in there was this one movie, Happily Ever After. She actually showed herself that she can sing pretty well, so why not give Phyllis Diller a musical number? Or is this during the period of her career that she has yet to be known to be a singer? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that ending one was just weird. But there actually is another sketch that I forgot to mention, but that one is also another really good one. It's called Hugga Wugga, and that is another pure example of a Muppet sketch. Now, technically it doesn't feature any of the other Muppets, so you can also take this and put it onto Sesame Street as well, but it's definitely a really, really creative and fun moment with the Muppets, where like it's set on this alien world, and like you got this dominant guy who can shoot steam out of his nose going Hugga Wugga, and then like he finds this simple opponent who refuses to go Hugga Wugga with this guy and just sing You Are My Sunshine. So that definitely was a great bit, and I would probably say that that sketch right there would be as equivalently good as the moments with Phyllis Diller. So I would say that overall, that this is a pretty legit good episode. Not great, but definitely good. There are a few misses, and like there are some moments where the material is not all that great. Like, they could have done better, but it's still fine as it is. But there are still some highlights included, especially with Phyllis Diller and with the Hugga Wugga, and I would also throw in the Mississippi Mud as well. So overall, I would say that this is definitely good, and especially if you are a Muppet fan, this is a pretty interesting episode to watch, considering that this is the only one where Hilda had a moment to shine before eventually she pretty much disappeared in obscurity. So that's pretty much it with this Muppet vlog, so I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see what else we have in store with the Muppet Show. So until next time, see you later, dudes!